The research station on Kepler 442b hummed with its usual evening rhythm when Lena discovered the catastrophe that had befallen her workspace. She stood in the doorway of her quarters, staring at what had once been her meticulously organized desk, now transformed into something resembling a scavenger's nest. "Bryce!" Her voice carried through the corridor with the particular tone that made even battle-hardened soldiers reconsider their life choices. The Vrexian youngling appeared within seconds, his silver-blue fur bristling with what she'd learned to recognize as nervous energy. His four eyes blinked in sequential pairs, a telltale sign of guilt among his species. Behind him, two smaller forms peeked around the corner. His cubs, Tesh and Mira, barely half his size but already possessing the hunting instincts that made adult Vrexians apex predators on 17 known worlds. "Human Lena," Bryce began, his translator struggling with the apologetic frequencies in his native tongue. "The cubs wish to assist you. They observed your distress at the organizational state of your workspace." Lena pinched the bridge of her nose, a gesture Bryce had learned meant she was summoning the legendary human patience that had somehow allowed her species to negotiate peace treaties with races that considered them prey. She walked to her desk, examining the damage. Every item had been redistributed. Her data pads were stacked in one corner, the corner that received optimal sunlight through the viewport, she noted. Her collection of earth seeds, carefully cataloged and labeled, had been moved to the warmest part of the desk, near the heat vent. Her personal photographs were arranged near the door, at eye level for someone exactly Tesh and Mira's height. "They organized it," Lena said slowly, picking up a data pad from the sunny corner. "Yes, very efficient." Bryce's chest fur puffed with pride. "They identified the items you use most frequently and placed them in optimal reaching distance." Lena turned to face the cubs, who had crept fully into the room now. Tesh, the bolder of the two, held something in his smaller manipulator claws. As he approached, Lena saw it was her grandmother's compass, a genuine Earth artifact she'd inherited, worth more than a year's salary on the collector's market. "This," Tesh said, his young translator producing higher-pitched tones, "is very important to you. We can tell by your scent markers. It now has the place of highest honor." He gestured toward her desk's center, where a small cleared space sat surrounded by protective barriers made from her other belongings. The compass had been placed on a makeshift pedestal constructed from reference books. "They gave it a shrine," Lena muttered. "A protected position," Bryce corrected gently. "Among Vrexians, we guard treasures in the kill circle. The cubs applied this principle to everything," Lena finished. She looked at Mira, who held a piece of twisted metal in her claws, Lena's stylus pen, now bent at an interesting angle. "What happened to this?" Mira's ears flattened against her skull. "It attempted to roll off the elevated surface. I neutralized the threat." Despite everything, Lena felt a smile tugging at her lips. She'd been among the Vrexians long enough to understand what had happened. To humans, organizing meant creating systems of efficiency and logic. To Vrexian cubs, young predators still developing their understanding of the world, organizing meant something entirely different. It meant securing valuable objects, creating defensive positions, and ensuring that anything important was protected from potential threats, including gravity. She knelt down, putting herself at eye level with the cubs. Tesh and Mira tensed, unsure if the human would display the aggressive territorial behavior their instructors had warned them about. "Thank you," Lena said simply. Bryce's translator actually stuttered. "Thank you? You were trying to help," Lena continued, addressing the cubs directly. "You saw a problem and attempted to fix it using the best knowledge you have. That shows initiative, problem-solving, and—" she paused, choosing her words carefully— "pack loyalty." The cubs' ears perked up simultaneously. Pack loyalty was among the highest compliments in Vrexian culture. "However," Lena added, standing and surveying the reorganized chaos, "humans and Vrexians organize differently. Would you like to learn the human way?" What followed was a 2-hour lesson in human organizational systems. Lena explained the concept of categorization, not by value or threat level, but by function and frequency of use. The cubs listened with rapt attention, Their predatory focus now channeled into understanding this alien methodology. Tesh proved particularly adept at understanding filing systems. So you group items not by their ability to be stolen, but by what task they help you accomplish? Exactly, Lena confirmed, watching as he carefully reorganized her data pads by project rather than by sun exposure. Mira, meanwhile, had taken responsibility for the seed collection. These are genetic storage units for potential food sources, she observed. They should be organized by growth requirements and harvest timelines. You've been reading my agricultural report, Lena said, impressed. Knowledge is the sharpest claw, Mira replied, quoting what was apparently a Vrexian proverb. By the time they finished, Lena's desk looked better than it had in months. The Cubs had brought their natural attention to detail and combined it with human logical systems, creating something uniquely effective. Bryce observed from the doorway, his translator humming softly. Human Lena, I apologize for the initial reorganization. Don't, Lena said, watching as Tesh and Mira made final adjustments, consulting each other in their native tongue. This is why we're here, isn't it? Not just to study each other, but to learn from each other. Your cubs saw a problem and tried to help. That's more than most species manage. She picked up her grandmother's compass from its shrine, running her thumb over the worn brass. Then deliberately, she placed it back in the position of honor the cubs had created, central, elevated, protected. Some organizational methods, she said, meeting Bryce's eyes, transcend species. Later that night, as Lena filed her daily report to Earth Command, she included a note about the day's events. She concluded, humanity has spent centuries learning to organize our world according to our logic. Perhaps it's time we learned that there are other ways to value what matters. The predator cubs taught me that today. They organized everything into piles of theirs, and by doing so, showed me I belong to their pack. Maybe that's the most human thing of all, the ability to become part of something bigger, even when that something has fangs.